はい、じゃあ1番、Let's look at the scenario. It was 男の人と女の人が話しています。So a man and a woman are talking. And the question was, 男の人はこの後すぐ何をしますか？ What will the man do right away after this? この後 after this すぐ right away. Okay? So let's look at the dialogue. The man says, 何か手伝いましょうか? Would you like me to help you with anything? Right? 手伝いましょうか comes from the verb 手伝う to help. 手伝います、手伝わない、手伝って。And ましょうか is the, invitation, suggestion, right? 何か is something, but in this case would be translated as like, would you like me to help you with anything? Right? Doing something. And B says, ありがとう. The woman is quite happy, right? That he offered. So she goes, じゃあ、部屋を掃除して、このお皿を洗って、リンゴを切って、それからジュースを買いに。So she basically asked him to do all of the actions on the pictures, right? So 部屋を掃除して is to clean, 掃除する. A room, right? 部屋 means room. It could be any room, bedroom, living room, okay? お皿 means plate or dishes, right? So do the dishes is お皿を洗う、洗います、洗わない、洗って。And リンゴ means apple. 切って comes from the verb 切る to cut, right? 切って、切ります、切らない、切って。それからジュースを買いに、ね。go buy juice. 買いにit would be 買いに行きます not to go buy, but we just take the drop the 行きます but the meaning is the same to go get some juice, right? Which would be some soft drink in this case. And the man says, それはちょっと meaning he cannot do all of those things, right? それは means all of the things that she just said. ちょっと, the literal meaning for ちょっと means a little, right? But in this case means that is a Japanese way of saying no, I cannot. It could be ちょっと難しい it's a little difficult, or ちょっと無理 is a little impossible, right? But Japanese people say a lot ちょっと when they don't want to do something. Okay, so please remember that there's that second meaning besides a little. Okay, and the woman says じゃあ in that case, meaning that you cannot do all of it, 掃除をお願いします. Please do the cleaning, right? 掃除 means cleaning, and お願いします is please do it, right? Or I ask you to. So that's why our answer is number 2, right? He is doing the cleaning. 掃除をします. Now I have a question for you. Looking at this picture, he's doing the cleaning by vacuum cleaning the room, right? So do you know how to say vacuum cleaner in Japanese? If you don't, it's very simple and you will remember forever because basically it's just combining the word soji, which means cleaning, right? With the character ki, which means machine, right? So a machine for doing cleaning, right, is sojiki, sojiki, sojiki. Sojiki is vacuum cleaner in Japanese. All right, let's listen one more time before we move on to the next question.
1番、
男の人と女の人が話しています。男の人はこの後すぐ何をしますか？
何か手伝いましょうか？
ありがとう。じゃあ部屋を掃除してこのお皿を洗ってリンゴを切ってそれからジュースを買いに。
それはちょっと。
じゃあ掃除お願いします。男の人はこの後すぐ何をしますか？
2番、
男の人と女の人が話しています。日曜日、女の人は海へ行く前に何をしますか？
日曜日、僕の車で海へ行きませんか？インターネットでいいところがありましたから。
いいですね。じゃあ、私、お弁当作りますね。飲み物も。
ああ、お弁当ですか。嬉しいな。でも、 飲み物は重いですから、いいですよ。
そうですか？じゃあ、そうします。日曜日、女の人は海へ行く前に何をしますか？
はい、2番。So the scenario was 男の人と女の人が話しています。So a man and a woman are talking. And the question was 日曜日、女の人は海へ行く前に何をしますか？ What will the woman do on Sunday before going to the beach? Right? And let's look at the dialogue. A says 日曜日、僕の車で海へ行きませんか？ Would you like to go to the beach in my car on Sunday? ね。僕の車で is with my car. The they is the method, right? And then he continues by saying, インターネットでいいところがありましたから、ね。ありました means there was, like, so there was a good place on the internet, but a better translation here would be I found, right, a nice spot on the internet, meaning a nice beach to go. So the woman says, いいですね, like, oh, that's nice. じゃあ、私、お弁当作りますね。Like, oh, I will make the bento. Bento is like a lunchbox, okay? Or some food that we prepare for a picnic or something like that. 飲み物も and also the drinks also means I will also prepare the drinks. 飲み物も okay? And then A says, ああ、お弁当ですか？嬉しいな。So here is like, he's happy, he's surprised that she's preparing ね。お弁当ですか？ It's like, oh, lunch boxes? And 嬉しいな is I'm happy, right? But in here could be translated as like thank you, because he's thankful that she is doing that, right? But he says, でも飲み物は重いですからいいですよ。But the drinks 飲み物は重いですから are heavy, so いいですよ。いいですよ usually means it's good, right? But in here, いいですよ actually means no, thank you. No need for it. Like there's no need. Don't worry about it. Meaning that he's telling her to not bring the drinks. いいですよ is the same. Another word in Japanese would be いらない。ね。There's no need for drinks ね。because it's 重い。So I'll give you the hint that whenever いいですよ is combined with something negative, which in this case would be 重いですからいいですよ, that means that it's like no thank you. Okay, that's a nice way to memorize that second meaning. And she says, そうですか? じゃあ、そうします meaning, okay. そうですか meaning like, oh, I don't need to bring the drinks. ね? じゃあ、そうします okay, I will do so. Meaning that she will bring only the food, the obento, right? So the answer is what will the woman be doing just before they go, right, to the beach is picture number 1. She will be preparing food, the lunch boxes, obento. Okay, let's listen one more time and read along.
2番、
男の人と女の人が話しています。日曜日、女の人は海へ行く前に何をしますか？
日曜日、僕の車で海へ行きませんか？インターネットでいいところがありましたから。
いいですね。じゃあ、私、お弁当作りますね。飲み物も。
ああ、お弁当ですか。嬉しいな。でも、飲み物は重いですから、いいですよ。
そうですか？じゃあ、そうします。日曜日、女の人は海へ行く前に何をしますか？
3番、
先生が学生に話しています。これから学生はどの順番でしますか？
今から紙芝居を作ります。
先生、紙芝居は何ですか？
はじめにお話を考えてください。それから、この紙に絵を描いて、後ろにお話を書いてください。絵とお話を書いた後で、 この絵を見せながらお話を読みます。いいですか？
はーい。これから学生はどの順番でしますか？
はい、3番。The situation was 先生が学生に話しています。So the teacher is talking to the students. And the question was これから学生はどの順番でしますか？ From now, in what order the students will do. Okay, it's a little bit tricky because we don't know we'll do what, right? So your brain might be a little, we'll do what, but we need to listen to the conversation in order to know what it is. But the important thing here is in what order, right? Dono junban de. Whenever you hear the question dono junban de, it's going to be this type of question that you need to be careful scanning the pictures, because as you are listening, you will have to narrow down and choose the correct answer. So talking about the pictures, the options, let's have a look here. So as you can see, in each column we have 4 pictures for actions, so it might be a lot that feel a little bit overwhelming. But my personal hint here is look at one row, okay? There are 4 activities. Try to find out what they are. So let's, for instance, look at number 4 row. So the first one, the girl, which most likely would be a student, is drawing, right? You can see the brush. So drawing. Second one is writing. You can see the hiragana. So drawing, writing. The third one is a little bit unclear because it looks like a TV. So you might not really be sure what it is, but you see the girl pointing and then some kids watching. And then the last one is the girl thinking. That's a thinking box, okay? So after you know the 4 activities, then it's just a matter of which one comes first and after, right? But this is something that you will get as you're listening to the narration. And it's important to know which one is the first action, right? So number 1 and number 2, actually she's thinking, and then number 3 is that weird one with the TV or whatever that is. We will find out soon. And number 4 is the drawing. So again, if you have that in mind, it's easier for you to find the correct answer as you're listening. Okay, now let's dive into the script so we can find out. So the teacher says, 今から紙芝居を作ります。今から from now, we will make a 紙芝居。Okay, 作ります is the verb to make. 紙芝居 is it's a Japanese thing. Kami means paper. Shibai is like a play. So basically is like a storytelling, play that we usually write on a paper. On one side is a picture, the other side is it's the story. So as you are reading, the audience, the kids are watching it. Okay. The student actually asks, Sensei, kamishibai wa nan desu ka? What is a kamishibai, teacher? And the teacher explains by saying, はじめにお話を考えてください. First, はじめに means first, which in a question like ね、どの順番で is already your big hint. ね、はじめに the first step is お話を考えてください. Think of a story. So that already gives us the answer that it will be number 1 or number 2, right? 3 and 4, we already discard. Then he continues by saying, それからこの紙に絵を描いて後ろにお話を書いてください. After that, after thinking, right, of the story, それからこの紙に on this paper, please draw a picture or a drawing, right? 絵を描く、絵を描いて、後ろに on the back, お話を書いてください. Write the story. 絵とお話を書いた後で after we write the story and we draw the pictures, この絵を見せながらお話をします. We will お話を読みます. We will read the story while showing the pictures. Okay? 絵を見せながら. So if you haven't learned yet, 見せながら, the form ながら is the masu form of the verb plus ながらmeans while blah blah blah, while doing the action of the verb, which in this case is 見せます. While showing, you will tell the story, right? You will read the story. 見せながら話を読みます. But for instance, if I want to say I watch TV while I eat would be 食べながらテレビを見ます。Or I listen to music while I study, right? Would be 勉強しながら音楽を聴きます。Okay, so it's a very useful grammar point, and I think you should memorize, okay, if you don't know yet. But anyway, he continues by saying いいですか? Meaning, do you get it? Like, do you understand? Right? Instead of, is that okay? And then the student says, hi, meaning, yes, we get, we understand. So the right answer is number 1, right? So think first, draw, write, and then do the play. Okay, present. So let's listen one more time and read along before we move on to the next one.
3番、
先生が学生に話しています。これから学生はどの順番でしますか？
今から紙芝居を作ります。
先生、紙芝居は何ですか？
はじめにお話を考えてください。それから、この紙に絵を描いて、後ろにお話を書いてください。絵とお話を書いた後で、この絵を見せながらお話を読みます。いいですか？
はーい。これから学生はどの順番でしますか？
4番、
男の人と女の人が電話で話しています。二人は明日どこで会いますか？
明日のコンサートは4時からですから、3時半に駅で会いましょう。
駅は人が多いですから、会場の入り口はどうですか？
外は寒いですよ。
そうですね。じゃあ、入り口じゃなくて、中に入って待っていてください。
わかりました。
二人は明日どこで会いますか？
はい、4番。The setting was 男の人と女の人が電話で話しています。So a man and a woman are talking over the phone 電話で。And the question was 二人は明日どこで会いますか？ Where will the two people meet up tomorrow? 二人は two people 明日 tomorrow どこで where 会いますか？ We'll meet up. Okay? And then if we look at the options here, we have eki, station, and then we have 3 with kaijo, kaijo no iriguchi, soto to naka. Okay? Naka means inside, soto means outside, iriguchi means entrance. Kaijo is the venue that something takes place. Okay? So let's look into the script here. A says, 明日のコンサートは4時からですから、3時半に駅で会いましょう。So A is suggesting a place to meet up, okay? A is saying, let's meet up tomorrow at 3:30 at the station, okay? Because から the concert is from 4 o'clock. Then B says, 駅は人が多いですから、会場の入り口はどうですか？どうですか here means, how about we meet up ね at the entrance of the venue 会場の入り口で because 駅は人が多いですから the station is always busy. The station has too many people. So A says 外は寒いですよ outside is cold, right? Soto because the entrance is actually outside. So then B says, そうですね, that's right. じゃあ、入り口じゃなくて、中に入って待っていてください。ね、じゃあ、in that case, meaning because it's cold, 入り口じゃなくて、not at the entrance, but 中に入って、enter inside, go inside the venue, and 待っていてください. Please wait for me. And A says, わかりました. Understood. I got it. So where will they be meeting up tomorrow? The answer is number 4, 会場の中, inside the venue. Okay? Which in this case, by the way, we're talking about a concert. So the venue that a concert takes place can be called as an arena, right? So we could say inside the arena. That would be the answer here. Alright? Let's listen one more time before we move on to the next question.
4番、
男の人と女の人が電話で話しています。二人は明日どこで会いますか？
明日のコンサートは4時からですから、3時半に駅で会いましょ
駅は人が多いですから、会場の入り口はどうですか？
う。外は寒いですよ。
そうですね。じゃあ、入り口じゃなくて、中に入って待っていてください。
わかりました。
二人は明日どこで会いますか？
5番、
女の人と男の人が話しています。女の人は誰と京都へ行きますか？来週京都へ旅行に行きます。
いいですね。一人で？
いいえ、母と姉と一緒に行きます。
お父さんは？
父は仕事が忙しいですから。
そうですか。
女の人は誰と京都へ行きますか？
はい、じゃあ5番。セナリオは女の人と男の人が話しています。So a woman and a man are talking and the question was 女の人は誰と京都へ行きますか？ So who will the woman go to Kyoto with? Okay, 誰と with who 京都へ行きますか？ Will go to Kyoto with. So let's look at the script. A says 来週京都へ旅行に行きます。So next week I will go on a trip to Kyoto. And the man says いいですね。Oh, that's nice. 一人でAre you going by yourself? Are you going alone? ね、一人で alone. And then she says, いいえ no, meaning not alone. 母と姉と一緒に行きます。I will go with my mother and my older sister. 一緒に together. And then he asks, お父さんは How about your father? Is not joining you? And then she says, 父は仕事が忙しいからですからね。So my father is busy at work. So, meaning he's not going to join us. And then B says, そうですか? Oh, is that so? So here the answer is going to be number 4. お母さんとお姉さん. Right? It's a very simple question, but basically, this type of question is to check your Japanese level. If you already know that when we talk about family of somebody else's family, usually we will use the formal Japanese, which is お父さん、お母さん、お姉さん、お兄さん, right? But when we talk about ourselves, our family, we say 母、父、姉、兄, right? So this type of question is to check if you understand that difference and how to use that. So that's why it's interesting because B is referring, right, to using the polite way, お父さん, right? But when the girl replies, she says chichi. And also the answer here is haha to ane, but obviously the options given for us is the polite way, uka-san to one-san, right? So if you don't know this yet, please make sure that you are able to connect the formal with the informal way. Okay? Let's listen one more time before we move on.
5番、
女の人と男の人が話しています。女の人は誰と京都へ行きますか？来週京都へ旅行に行きます。
いいですね。一人で？
いいえ、母と姉と一緒に行きます。
お父さんは？
父は仕事が忙しいですから。
そうですか。
女の人は誰と京都へ行きますか？
6番、
教室で先生が話しています。この学生は机の上に何を置きますか？今からテストをしますから、机の上のものはカバンに入れてください。
先生、鉛筆と消しゴムもカバンに入れますか？
いいえ、それは机の上に置いてください。
先生、時計は？
時計はいいですが、携帯電話はダメですよ。
はい、わかりました。
この学生は机の上に何を置きますか？
はい、6番。6番の設定は、セナリオは、教室で先生が話しています。So, a teacher is talking in the classroom, and the question is, この学生は机の上に何を置きますか？ What will this student leave on top of the desk? Okay, so 置きますか is more like to put, but in this case I would say leave. Okay.So let's look at the dialogue. A says, the teacher says, 今からテストをしますから、机の上のものはカバンに入れてください。So from now, we will do a test. ね。机の上のものは the objects on top of the desk. カバンに入れてください。Please put inside your bag. Right? And B, the student says, 先生、鉛筆と消しゴムもカバンに入れますか？Teacher, should I put the pencil and the eraser in the bag as well? And the teacher says, いいえ、それは机の上に置いてください。No, please leave those on the desk, right? And the student asks, 先生、時計は How about a clock? Or in this case, most likely a watch, right? How about a watch? And then the teacher says, 時計はいいですが、携帯電話はダメですよ。So like you can use a watch, right? Or a clock, but not your phone. 携帯電話 means cell phone, right? So you cannot use your cell phone just because you want to see the time. And the student says, はい、わかりました。Yes, I understood. So what will the student leave on top of his desk is number 3. 鉛筆と消しゴムと時計ですね。So a pencil, an eraser, and a watch. Alright, let's listen one more time and move on to the next question.
6番、
教室で先生が話しています。この学生は机の上に何を置きますか？今からテストをしますから、机の上のものはカバンに入れてください。
先生、鉛筆と消しゴムもカバンに入れますか？
いいえ、それは机の上に置いてください。
先生、時計は？
時計はいいですが、携帯電話はダメですよ。
はい、わかりました。
この学生は机の上に何を置きますか？
7番、
男の人と女の人が話しています。男の人は女の人といつどこへ行きますか？
鈴木さん、僕、明日友達と山へ行きますが、一緒に行きませんか？とても綺麗な山ですよ。
すみません。明日は山田さんとコンサートに行きますから。
そうですか。残念だな。じゃあ、あさっての日曜日に一緒に食事をしましょう。
ええ、じゃああさって。男の人は女の人といつどこへ行きますか？
はい、7番。The scenario was 男の人と女の人が話しています。So a man and a woman are talking, and the question was 男の人は女の人といつどこへ行きますか？ The man and the woman will go when and where. いつどこで、いつどこで。Okay? So let's look at the dialogue. A says, 鈴木さん、僕、明日友達と山へ行きますが、一緒に行きませんか？とても綺麗な山ですよ。Right? So 鈴木さん、he's calling the woman, right? 僕、明日、tomorrow、友達と山へ行きますが、I will go to the mountain with a friend. 一緒に行きませんか？ Would you like to go with us? とても綺麗な山ですよ。It's a very beautiful mountain. So A is inviting B to go to a mountain, right? And then B says, すみません. Like, I'm sorry, but no, right? 明日は山田さんとコンサートに行きますから、tomorrow I will be going to a concert with Yamada. Kara meaning so I can join you, right? Kara, I can join you. すみません。And A says, そうですか? Oh, is that so? 残念だな。残念ですね。残念だな is like, oh, that's a shame. That's, that's too bad. じゃあ、so, あさっての日曜日に the day after tomorrow on Sunday 一緒に食事をしましょう。Let's go have a meal together. ね、一緒に食事をしましょう。And the woman says, じゃあ、あさって。Yes, so, the day after tomorrow. So the answer, when and where will these two people, the man and the woman, go together is number 4. On Sunday, 日曜日, they will go for 食事に行きます. They will go for a meal. Okay? So let's listen and read along.
7番、
男の人と女の人が話しています。男の人は女の人といつどこへ行きますか？
鈴木さん、僕、明日友達と山へ行きますが、一緒に行きませんか？とても綺麗な山ですよ。
すみません。明日は山田さんとコンサートに行きますから。
そうですか。残念だな。じゃあ、あさっての日曜日に一緒に食事をしましょう。
ええ、じゃあ、あさって。男の人は女の人といつどこへ行きますか？
Hi, so this is the end of the 問題1 questions. お疲れ様でした。I hope you were able to understand my explanation, and if you made any mistakes on the 問題2 questions, please wait for the next video. If you haven't activated the notification buttons yet, please do so you will be notified as soon as the next video 問題2 questions come out. Alright? So see you on the next video. それではまた。バイバイ。